In five, four, three, two, one. Thanks for listening to the Android Experience podcast. This is a show where we keep you posted on what's new in the world of Google and Android and share our experiences with the platform. This is episode 17 on Thursday, July 28th, 2016. I'm your host, Patrick Virgadamo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Wright.
Hey, hey.
And Bill Stebbins.
Yes, I am here.
What's up, guys?
Oh, it's just another boring week. I mean, it wasn't my birthday week or anything. Thanks.
Yeah.
We made sure we tweeted out. Everybody should know it's Bill the Internet Stebbins' birthday.
That's right. I'm 30 again.
Wow.
See, what people don't know is Bill actually goes down in a year for every Nexus release.
That's right. I'm like Chuck Norris.
So, kind of getting into our news for this episode, in our What's Happening, talking about the recent app updates and releases. Google Maps has had somewhat of a big update, bringing a Wi-Fi only mode, mass transit delay updates, as well as some other suggestions and frequently visited spot suggestions. Have you guys gotten the update yet for that?
I don't ever notice. I mean, Wi-Fi only wouldn't really be that useful. I mean, I guess it would be on a tablet or something, but I haven't noticed that. I use it pretty much every day, though, so it seems like over, I guess, the last 6 months or so, everything that they've been adding is just super useful.
And see, for me, as you mentioned, the tablet mode, with tablet, that's where I think the update will help me a lot, because now that you can use with the Wi-Fi only mode, as well as uploading for offline use, if you're going on a big trip, it's always nice. Basically, your Pixel C can become an extra atlas for you on a trip in a pinch. So
yeah, and if I put it in the windshield, I wouldn't be able to see out.
Yeah, I got it on the, I'm running Nougat on the 6P, and I noticed it's in there in settings. If you go into settings, it's got it's like the first option. It says edit home or work, and then the second option is Wi-Fi only.
I was gonna say,
I don't have that then. I have edit home or work, and then I get offline areas.
I kind of had a chuckle with the mass transit delays, because here the only thing we have for mass transit is buses, and they're always delayed. We don't have trains, so it's like I could see where a big city like, say, New York, over in the Northeast, Philly, something along those lines, where you have trains that are actually mass transit, but I guess us in the smaller parts in the rural South don't have much.
We have buses.
Yeah, but they're always running behind.
Well,
That's why everybody drives.
it could be.
My favorite, somebody goes, why does everybody drive? Well, because it gets over 100 degrees and it rains all the time.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk even 3 blocks in humidity.
You know, I didn't even notice the driving notifications on Google Maps. It's pretty cool.
I started noticing those because it would be like, have you left yet?
Oh, really? I haven't seen that. Now, I use driving mode a lot, but and I get the, like you need to leave by whatever time to get there on time. Love that.
I've gotten a couple, like I'd already started to go somewhere, and it's like, you need to make sure you leave to get there. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah, I do see those, and I'm like, hell, there should be some kind of a logic that if you're navigating to the destination with Google Maps, Google now shouldn't say, leave by this time to arrive on time.
it's like,
Look, I'm already on the way, okay?
I've actually been to a place before, and then it says, time to leave, and I'm like, well, dumbass, I'm already here.
That's when you just want to be able to go, think, McFly, think.
Yeah.
So our next kind of big thing was the phone app. For Google's phone app, it now has spam caller protection. I've always went with the idea that if it's spam afterwards, I go back and block it. But there is some kind of issues here where some people are worried that Google is getting all your information because it's notifying you ahead of time that this might be a spam call. So
well, what they're doing is they're going to actually feed that back into the database. the public database for all these spam calls, and so it's kind of crowdsourcing from our dialer, which I'm all in favor of. I mean, I get a little bit of satisfaction by marking something as spam and blocking, and then it's got like an exclamation point that it shows up. Problem is, a lot of these calls are spoofed, so the caller ID is different every single time.
Yep, which is why I think, to the degree that they continue to use certain ones that they find that they can use in an area when they're using it robocalling, that'll at least help, because usually they'll come in batches. They'll use the same number for like a round of calls, and so if this gets it so you know ahead of time, hey, this is a spam call. Of course, it's gotten to the point now I just put it, unless I know who it is because they're in my thing, I'll let it go to voicemail and I'll call them back.
Yeah, I do that too, and it's frustrating for me. All the spam calls I get are on my actual Verizon number, or not Verizon, AT&T number, not my Google Voice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way for me to really do much about it. If it was Google Voice, that does a great job of blocking spam callers already. And Rachel from Cardholder Services calls a few times a day, and I'm tired of talking to her.
I love getting the ones. This is a call for a random name who's not me. You need to call about this case number, or you may be arrested. And I'm like, yeah, they don't. I almost want to answer one time and go, let me tell you how this is so wrong. You can't arrest somebody for debt.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's one of those, if they would use the same numbers, like you said, go into Google Voice, I think I'd almost create a special group for these people so they got a special voicemail.
That's crazy.
So the next thing is Twitter for Android has gotten a night mode, which I guess is supposed to make it easier for you to see, which begs questions. Where are you reading and doing Twitter updates where you need to worry about a night mode? Don't text and drive or tweet and drive. Although, I guess my question is, can we get a theater mode where you put it in theater mode, it shuts it off?
Isn't that called airplane mode?
No, I'm thinking called, you're dumb enough you set it to get in the theater, it shuts your phone off so we don't have to see you tweeting throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Have you ever used Twitter for Android? I mean, I think I know people that do, but I couldn't personally use it.
No.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I mean, I guess you could use lists or something, but there's people that I follow that if I had to see all of their tweets every day, I would be just miserable. And I like some of the stuff that they tweet, so I want to kind of follow, along. But my God, sometimes they get on a roll and there's like 50 tweets in about an hour, and I can't keep up. I mean, like the UFC Twitter account, they will tweet 100 times a day if there's something going on, and I don't want to unfollow them, so I can either muffle them or mute them altogether. And Twitter has no provisions for that in the native client.
Yeah, they haven't stole that yet from anybody.
Yeah.
Which is bad because you can mute on the web client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which client are you guys using right now?
Oh, I use Phoenix. I've always used Phoenix.
I use Talon, but right now I'm having a problem with Talon when I try and post a tweet with a picture. It won't go through some of the time. So I use Flamingo also, which is
a good one.
Yeah, it's a nice one. He keeps adding stuff there's just something about it, the way that it syncs with TweetMarker, that doesn't work properly, and I don't think it's the client itself. I think it's a problem syncing with TweetMarker and Tweetbot on my Mac. So I don't use them. I mean, if I'm not at work for a while, I'll switch back to it because I don't have to worry about TweetMarker.
Yeah, I used to love using Falcon Pro, but I got tired of the games about when they'd redo the access things. So finally, I just went back to Plume.
Plume, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was all set up, and it works well for me.
Wow. Are you also using what was that, Launcher Pro?
No.
From 5 years ago?
No. But I've been looking to see about switching to something different just to try out stuff. But I guess after doing Falcon Pro and the shady stuff they were doing for a while, because when Twitter was trying to keep the third parties on lockdown a little bit unfairly, so it was just like, nah.
Well, give Flamingo or Phoenix or Talon a try. They're all really nice.
Don't worry, I just looked them up and set them up to go check them up after the show.
There you go.
Okay, so the last thing, kind of in apps, Docs and Sheets for Google Docs and Sheets got support for add-ons, which are now in the Google Play Store. Things for if you used these things for like in a business sense, where you can now sign documents and things like that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because I mean, I do know some people that use this stuff kind of as a free way of getting around paying for Office, especially on mobile. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of add-ons eventually kind of come about.
I read the story about it, and I saw a couple that looked kind of interesting as far as the add-ons, but I'm not sure that I'd really care too much on mobile at this point. I mean, one of them lets you do mobile signing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be
the DocuSign and stuff, and then the scanning. I mean, I could see where that might be, especially if you're someone who has like the Google Business account, where you're using it and you really need those kind of functionality. But to me, I think the sign could be interesting, especially as people use it. But most people I know in business that are using it are already using things like like in PDF and stuff like that to digitally sign and things like that.
Yeah.
But I guess any functionality and the ability to add additional functionality is always a good thing, even if it initially, kind of like as we'll talk about in a few minutes, the Moto mods.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have those add-ons. I haven't really been using it for mobile because, I'm usually using stuff through Chrome on a desktop. But I guess it would be kind of cool. I mean, sometimes I have to use, if there's a document or something I want to look up real quick, I'll use it on mobile. Our work proxy server doesn't allow us to go to Google Drive or do any of that stuff. So I use my phone to look up something real quick. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I guess moving into our kind of our top story things, Google Play Family Library is now set up where you can set it up to share across 6 devices and basically have all your family, the apps you get, and allow for purchasing under a single account across 6 devices with different users. So this, if I recall, Bill, didn't they attempt to do this initially with, I think, with Google Music? There was the family account.
That kind of laid the framework for it. So when I went in to set it up this time, it already knew who my family was, and it was actually really simple. All I had to do was click and say, sign up, and it already knew that my family was in there. So then you can just click a button and say, share with all your stuff automatically. So anything that's able to be shared, you can.
Question: with this, let's say you're a subscriber to Google Music, will it, in order to be compatible, I'm assuming you'd have to switch over to the newer version, the family version of it?
Yes, I think. From this point on, everything that I buy will be shared.
Mm-hmm.
Developers have the choice to allow it or not retroactively.
Yeah, because I was curious. I don't really have a reason to set it up yet, but I'm still grandfathered in on the cheaper music. That's why I'm sitting there going, even if I had a reason to set it up, it's like, but I guess necessity at some point you kind of go, kind of like when you got rid of your thing on Verizon with AT&T. Other things become more important than a specific thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good because I'm getting ready to hook my mom up. She's wanting she doesn't know if she really wants a mobile phone or a tablet or something. She really just wants something that she can take pictures with and post them to Facebook pretty much. So I might check in on this because it'd be good to let her have some apps that I already have access to that
Yeah,
might not.
The only caveat to that is they get access to your payment method. So, I mean, if it really needs to be somebody you trust.
Yeah, don't get in with your friends on this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you trust your mom or your dad or maybe your sister or brother, but
Come
maybe
on, Bill. You can trust me. You can sign me
Sometimes
up on your account.
I don't know if Bill even trusts his own kids sometimes.
I do. I trust, but I verify. I have. I set it up on our. We had set up a long time ago a family Gmail account.
Hmm.
So that was our way of being able to share apps. We had that account loaded on everything, and then once the Play Music and all that went live, this was the last piece. So really, they don't even need that other account loaded on their device anymore.
Because you can just use their generic account that they can take off with them later on.
Yeah, so they've had their own Gmail accounts for a long time, and they just it wasn't cost effective. Didn't make sense to buy things multiple times.
Yeah, and I mean this makes sense, especially if you have small children and you each of them have their own tablet. You can buy the app once and they can all play it.
Yep, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, and it does encourage you to get more devices too, so that when even if a kid isn't ready yet for a phone, you can start them off on a tablet, and then as they add you can switch them off to be in their phone. I mean, 6 devices can be maybe too little if you start having everybody have a tablet and a phone, but it's a good starting point if nothing else.
Yeah. So now that you've got the Play Music family plan, that device limit is actually a lot different. So you can have multiple devices per account, and then they all get rolled up under the family.
So you have basically the different accounts with each of them having their own device limit.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's not been a problem for me. Of course, I don't switch devices quite as often, but I was running into that with my Play Music account. And
Oh God, I've hit that so many times.
yeah. Well, yeah, you still are way ahead of me. I mean, I'm still on this old dinosaur, and
I'm on that dinosaur too.
but I I don't think it's in here about the. Oh, there is. We'll talk about that in a little bit about the upcoming devices in the rumor mill, because I want to get your guys' thoughts on the new device and whether you're gonna switch or not.
Yeah.
So our next big thing is Motorola came out with the announcement of the Moto mods, and I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of But I did like the idea, that at least the concept, the idea that add-ons to add more additional functionality to your phone.
This feels like not a Motorola move, but a Lenovo move. I mean, it seems really cool, but the pricing on those things is ridiculous. If you want to get, what is it, $100 for the add-on battery?
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to pay that?
At least Verizon was nice enough to help those people it's already screwing and give them a discount on those things.
Yeah, right.
Which is my whole
they
problem.
Get you somewhere else.
Yeah, that's my whole problem with this phone anyway. Is a Verizon exclusive for now.
Well, Best Buy was supposed to have a super deal on these, but then they couldn't get their stuff straight, so the stuff wasn't actually letting you buy it. It was supposed to be like the thing was the Moto Z was, I think, $1. So
yeah, I saw that.
$200, but then they couldn't get their website fixed right, so nobody could buy it.
Oh.
I just I mean, I know we're on this as a top story, but I could not in good conscience recommend any Motorola devices anymore. I mean, the updates are not going to be coming. The devices are too expensive.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Yeah. I mean, they used to be one of the top ones. It's like they just did a 180. It sounds like some bean counter at Lenovo is like, oh, that's going to cost how much? Nah, we don't need to do that.
But they just don't want to do it. I mean, I don't know if it's a money deal, but Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of like we have Lenovo laptops at work, and it's just like you can tell it's like, how can we save a couple bucks here? You can just tell by the design on some of them, and you're just like, really? So it'll be interesting, but yeah, I agree with you, Bill. This company, now that Lenovo has taken over, I'm not quite sure I like where they're going with what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the whole Razer thing. They had so many people like, what are they going to announce? What are they going to announce? Really?
I mean, the devices look cool. I mean, they're super thin and all that, but it's no good if it's not getting updated regularly, and
yeah,
who knows what the warranty support's going to be.
It's almost become kind of like the special projects at Google. You never know when they're just going to decide, well, let's do something else. And you're just like, really? So, Bill, you put the next one in for our top stories. I'll let you go ahead and hit this one.
So the Android N Preview 5, which is supposed to be the final one, was released last week. And I've been using it pretty much since the day it came out. I started on Preview 2, and man, it's really good. I mean, like, it's ready to go. I mean, I know there's some more stuff they're going to be adding in, but man, it's solid.
Yeah, I'm so ready for it.
I've got the Preview 5 on mine.
Yep. What do you think?
Oh, I love it. It's great. Matter of fact, I even put something in Twitter the day. I was thinking about, I'm not sure if my main number that I give out to like family and friends, it's over on T-Mobile, and I thought about porting it over to make that my Google Voice number since I'm on 5 with this phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about just using that number.
Yeah.
And switching and making this my main phone, or at least making Google Fi my main carrier. I still like my S7, but there's some things I just really like the native Android or Google Android experience on here too. I just like that a lot better. I like the icon.
I think I've really gotten spoiled in the last probably 2 years, I guess, since the Nexus 6, since the devices are now pretty darn solid and they've got good cameras, and there's pretty much hits everything that I care about, and it's kind of gotten me, it hasn't helped you, Todd, but it's gotten me off the cycle of updating every 3 months to something else. It's just one thing. It's kind of a constant for me, which is nice because it's a good, consistent experience. I see an update every single month, and it still runs well. It doesn't suffer from slowdowns like some of the other devices do, and it's been good and solid for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of the buy a phone every 3 months type cycle, but I always tell myself I'll do that after I buy the next phone.
I mean, I will say this: ever since switching over to the 6P, the only time I've ever had any kind of device envy, I got my brother-in-law the S7 Edge, and I like the screen on the S7 Edge, how it was the brightness, because like even on its lower brightness, it was way brighter than the 6P.
Yeah.
And so I could see like outside, because sometimes the 6P, as dim as it is, it can be really a pain if you're out in the sun. But then I kind of remembered, yeah, but I'll be getting updates a year from now, and he won't.
Pretty much.
So it's like
I went ahead and over the last year, I've switched everybody in my family except Miranda to a Nexus. So my oldest has a Nexus 5X. My wife has a 6P, and I have a 6P. And then Miranda has a 3rd gen Moto G, which she loves, and it still works great, and she doesn't care if she's on Marshmallow or Nougat or whatever. So it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and you can always throw her on the 5X and throw Brianna on the 6P if you ever upgrade later.
I actually did look at the G4 that Amazon has for like $150, but it's a bigger phone, and she likes the littler phone, and I mean, if she's happy, I'm happy, and I'll save the money somewhere else.
Yeah. Especially getting into sports and everything like that. Yeah, save your money for where you're going to need to spend it elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, they do a good job of that. Trust me.
See, the biggest thing that you keep hearing rumors about, I'm wondering when we're going to get a new Nexus tablet. Every once in a while you'll hear a few rumors, but then nothing of substance, and you're like, are they just going to get out of the game?
I think we're going to hopefully see another Pixel something, maybe a Pixel phone. Wouldn't it be interesting? Here's a theory, and it's probably not true, but what if one of the Nexus devices that's rumored actually is announced as a Pixel?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Be interesting.
I don't know that they'd do that, but I imagine at some point we'll see a Pixel phone. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind a new 7 just for something to kind of, when I don't want to carry around the big tablet, just something in between the size of that and my 6P. But I still go back to, I love, one of my favorite tablets of all time had to be my Nexus 7, the 2013 one. I mean, I really like that little tablet.
Yeah, my daughter's finally died. It's in a reboot loop, and nothing I do fixes it. And so I ended up buying her a Kindle Fire for $35 on Prime Day. And all she wants to do is watch Netflix on the thing anyway.
I picked up my dad the cheap one, the 8 gig one, but for some reason that Fire, it always gives me a low memory warning, and he has nothing on it. It's like something is memory leaking, and I can't figure out what's causing it.
I had that the other day with Sling Player on my Pixel C. I guess it wasn't clearing out the cache properly, and it used up all the memory on my device. Like 18 gigabytes.
Wow.
What? Crazy.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what Google gives us as a new tablet, just because I actually thought about this the other day. As of right now, there is really no Android competitor to the iPad Pro, and even Windows has the Surface 3 is pretty much going the way of the dodo because there's no evolutionary update for its processor, and so there's got to be some kind of, that was the one thing I said way back when we first got our Pixel C's. To have an active stylus support would have made this like the perfect tablet for me. But there's really no equivalent, and even like Samsung with their Notes haven't come out with one for 2 years.
Yeah. Seems like the tablet market's really just slowed down.
Which is kind of sad considering you're seeing more and more computers going towards the tablet feel anyway, especially on the Windows side.
Yeah.
There is the rumor that there'll be a new NVIDIA tablet soon.
Like a update to the Shield?
Yeah, update to the Shield.
That would be cool.
I think I saw it. I thought I saw something about being in the passing through the FCC for approval, but I'm not sure if that was.
Yeah, there's that rumor too that the next Nintendo will be basically a Tegra tablet.
Yeah, with removable controllers.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but.
Huh.
But I guess kind of moving into our rumor mill, one of the big things that's picking up steam because we're getting close to a release is the Note 7 stuff, which I kind of find interesting because they're going from Note 5 to 7 just so they can sync up with the S series. But kind of what we kind of, the rumors are that it's going to have a 3,500 milliamp battery. Supposedly T-Mobile is going to have a buy one get one deal. I'm not sure how. Usually it means you have to have that second line. So I guess if you already have the lines and you're moving to T-Mobile, why not?
Yeah, if I get one of those, it'll be because I'm keeping my T-Mobile line, and I do the jump on demand, basically the least thing. So I can just go turn this S7 Edge in and get that Note. I wish they would make it flat instead of. I wish they would make a flat one instead of the edge screen.
Well,
I'm
and
not sure.
that's one of the rumors is that they may also have a flat version.
Yeah, that I saw that rumor today, but I haven't really. You figure this close, there would be some leaks about a flat screen. I mean, actual pictures.
Yeah.
There was today.
Yeah. I think that was the ad that was leaking out.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it was a video or something of it. I saw it in Feedly. I didn't get to read the thing. But it said something like, here's the flat note you'll never get your hands on or something.
And the
Watch it be like an AT&T exclusive. The Note 7 Active.
the one rumor I saw was talking about it had a 3500 milliamp hour battery. I mean, it's cool that that's 500 milliamp hour better than the Note 5, but it's still 200 milliamp hour lower than what the S7 Edge is. I'm hoping that rumor is kind of a mistake and it actually has a larger battery like the S7 Active has the 4,000 milliamp hour battery.
Well, you figure with a bigger phone like that, you'd have a bigger footprint to have a bigger battery.
Right.
But
So,
maybe they don't need it since maybe the screen's a little more power efficient, or maybe they've tweaked something else. I mean, it's like
processor maybe.
Well,
yeah, if it's running a 821, which it should, the Snapdragon, then it should. That's supposed to be really, really good for power efficiency. But
yeah, the milliamp hour of the battery isn't always a great indicator of battery life. I mean, it kind of gives you, but it's like saying, well, this car has a 20-gallon gas tank. Okay, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, one of my cars has a 16-gallon gas tank, and it goes through gas at 3 times the rate of the other one, which has a smaller tank. So it just really depends on the device, and I'm sure they're trying to balance device weight and feel and thinness with battery life itself, and they're going to put in what they think they can get away with.
Yeah. And I think the point of the screens will be a big deal too, because you could have a high resolution screen, but if it isn't as bright, so it's not pushing out as much energy and needing as much, soaking up as much power, you don't need as big a battery. And let's face it, you're not going around taking a lot of pictures with a Note like you are with, say, an S7. I mean, that's like kind of pulling out your iPad and going, let me take a picture.
Oh, the S7 isn't much different in size than the Note anymore, is it?
Yeah, but if you think about it, though, usually you have a difference in the user.
I see so many people using a tablet for taking pictures and video. It's just the only thing that's missing is me seeing them with that on a selfie stick.
I think they make those.
They probably do.
It's like, really?
I mean, that's why I've got that Samsung S2, the small one.
Oh yeah, the
S2 tab, not the 8-inch, but the small one. But that's what I'm thinking about giving her to take pictures with. Sorry, Mom.
But it'll be interesting to see what we shouldn't have to wait much longer on the Note. It should become, because they usually announce it August, September at IFA.
It's actually they've already sent out that announcement saying that they're having an event this, I think it's Tuesday. It's the 2nd, whatever the August 2nd is.
Yeah, that's Tuesday. Wow.
Yes. So this Tuesday they should announce it.
Well, I guess they got to get those pre-orders in.
Yeah, the rumor is that it'll be not only announced on the 2nd, but that'll be release day.
That'll be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So the next one we have is, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, Bill, we've gotten some more leaks on the supposed Nexi, specifically the smaller, the Sailfish, that it looks like it's going to have a 1080p screen versus Quad HD, and that it looks like it's going to have a Snapdragon 820 or possibly an 821 given the time it'll finally come out.
I hope they have the same processor in both phones. You know, have just a premium, smaller version like we've been hoping for,
Mm-hmm.
and not the 5X, which didn't run as well and had a couple other things that you sacrificed with the camera functions and stuff like that. So yeah, if it's an 820 or an 821, I'm fine with the 1080p. I mean, it's plenty.
Well, 'cause, I mean, if you think about it, even Apple learned from their problem with the 6 and the 6 Plus. More people bought the bigger one just because they didn't want the crappy, worse processor, worse camera, and everything else. Well, at least with the 6S and 6S Plus, they fixed that. And like you said, the 5X and the 6P, it was like the same situation, only even more magnified, because in some cases the 5X was just unusable for someone who had a certain expectation for it.
Yeah. I mean,
1080. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say 1080p is really good for battery life, but it sucks for VR. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would be nice to basically, even if why have to have the bigger device be the premium when why can't you have the smaller screen premium, especially for certain people who don't want the bigger screen but still want the processor and things like that. That doesn't seem like where you should be making the selling point, to basically say, look at this big phone that's so great, and then look at its crappy smaller brother. I mean, it'd be one thing if they said, look, if you want a larger screen and certain things that have to go with that larger screen versus a smaller screen, same performance. I mean, that would have been a better way to go about it. But it'll be interesting to see as more of these rumors start coming out. I mean, it's getting to the point now we pretty much know what the device is before it's ever announced, with all the leaks that finally come out. So it'll be interesting to see as we get closer to the normal release time, which was usually October.
That's about right. I think so. About about late September, early October, or
because I think they're usually the pre-order start and they usually ship out end of October, beginning November, right?
Yeah, that's about right.
So it'll be interesting to see where we get from that. So kind of moving into our buy or sell segment, we already kind of talked about this, but Motorola coming out saying they can't commit to what they quote unquote difficult monthly security updates. I mean, seriously?
Yeah, that's pretty bad. They need to change that. That's going to end up hurting them in the long run.
It's like, we're sorry your phone is vulnerable. We'll get around to that at some point.
Yeah, that seems to me that's just the cost of doing business, and they need to figure out how to roll that in.
What I'm kind of curious too, because that was one of the things a while back that Google was saying they were going to start putting the lien on people, on these manufacturers, that they had to at least commit to something along those lines in order to have the full access to the Play Store and things of that sort. So it's going to be curious to see if Google backtracks completely, or if they kind of behind the scenes put the lien on Motorola to fix that. I mean, it's one thing not to give support for updates for the different versions of Android, but security updates are at a bare minimum of something they should be doing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Verizon, and I got so many phone calls about this. They're like, "Oh, you're going to lose your unlimited." So apparently, the Verizon Unlimited data plan is no longer unlimited. It's now basically use up to 100 gigabytes or bye-bye.
Sorry, Verizon. I broke up with you several years ago.
Yeah, me too. Adios.
I mean, I still have unlimited. So I was like, "Aren't you worried?" It's like, I think the most I've ever used in any month was 20, and that was after a hurricane where I was running all Netflix nonstop because the cable was out for 3 days. I mean, other than that, I think I average less than 10 gigs on average a month, so they're not coming after me anytime soon.
I mean, they get so much bad press for this. There can't be that many users that this affects, and every story that I see about Verizon seems to have something in there about how they're treating these people. And let's be clear, if you are on a Verizon Unlimited data plan, you've been a customer for a long time, you're paying a lot for your devices and you're paying a lot for your plan. And they seem to really just treat you like a second-class citizen.
Although I also don't have much sympathy for some of these people who are like, well, yeah, I use like 250 gigs a month. Really? What the hell are you?
How?
I'm
It's
like,
hard for me to hit that on my home internet, much less on my mobile.
that's exactly what I was about to say. Jeez. I mean, obviously they're torrenting and doing stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing. I mean, I can understand the few cases where somebody talks about they live out in the country or something and they can't get home internet. Their only option for home internet would be like the satellite stuff, which is basically, if you're lucky, as good as dial-up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could understand in that sense, but I could also get where if it's one thing, if you're using that much and you don't have a paid tethering plan. Because, see, like for me, I pay for both unlimited and for the unlimited tethering. Obviously, I'm going to use a lot, and I don't, but I think if they lost it, I would probably start looking elsewhere to see what I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I'm leaving Verizon, but I would definitely look really hard at what the options are out there. I mean, the whole reason I like the unlimited isn't because I use a lot. It's just I don't like counting gigs. I like to know I can just use it and not worry about it.
I agree. My 40 gig AT&T plan seems to go plenty far, even with 4 of us. So
yeah, I mean, and I think if I did switch, I would probably consider AT&T just because the access to additional unlocked phones. That's the biggest thing that I hated about Verizon, because even with some unlocked you could use it, you still had to make sure it supports stuff because of the 3G side.
Right.
Yeah, I've got the AT&T account. The only thing I don't like about AT&T is if you're not using the AT&T branded phone, they disable some features, like on the Nexus.
Like
They
Wi-Fi
disable
calling.
Wi-Fi calling and voice over LTE disabled as well.
Yep.
So our next one, Android Nugget or Nougat.
Nougat.
Nougat. Like the candy. Basically, we all know we had the issues because I know the Pixels with the Nexus 9. I had issues with my mom's, the one I'd given her, that during the boot check, if you had some errors, like if something happened, your device died while you were doing an update, it would give you this kind of a malware or corrupted data a notification on boot up. Well, supposedly the new version of Android is going to not only check for that as boot check, but will not let the device boot if it detects malware. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm glad I don't root my phones anymore.
Yeah.
I was about to say I could already see that's probably one of the things that's going to give a false positive, but let's face it. I mean, almost all devices, occasionally you're going to get like a little bit of glitches and updates, especially OTA updates. If one little thing is going to basically lock up your phone or your device, I can see a lot of pissed off customers.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the added security is nice, but they need to watch how they do it because, like you said, you get enough people pissed off.
I mean,
all of a sudden they'll start buying iPhones or something.
Let's hold off on that. But I mean, essentially, what you're setting up is the TSA of phone boots. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm all for security, but if you get to the point where every little small thing, especially the first thing that came to my mind was if you root your device, it'll probably find some way to say that that's malware, therefore boot won't let your device boot.
Yeah. I mean, and some of that stuff, I mean, it's good that they're doing that, but do you know anyone in your real life that's ever gotten any malware?
On their Android? No.
Yeah. That only happens like over in China where they pirate everything.
In the Middle East.
Well, let's say in China, where it's probably the government trying to find out what you're doing on your device.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, it's cool that they want to do the security, but I do think they need to be very careful, because if you go overboard and you start getting too many false positives, then it makes it to the point where it's not even a notification; it's your device won't even boot. It's not going to work well. So speaking of carriers, Sprint has apparently pulled the plug on its Galaxy Forever plan, which was their thing where you could basically do the lease and every 12 months switch out your device. So apparently the S7 Edge has forced them to basically tap out on this. And the questions are whether they did this because they were losing so much, because there's really not a lot of market out there for devices after a year for Android. Let's face it, the value isn't that great for your the phone unless you're Dave Valley and you can sell it for more than you paid. Or if it's the fact that it's gotten people to want to switch even more often by paying off just as much as they need to, and then switching, basically pulling a Todd and switching because, hey, it's a new device, I want it.
Right.
And I'm wondering if part of this was facing people on the S7 Edge deciding they wanted to switch to a Note, and so the Galaxy Forever was one of those. For whatever reason, they decided they weren't going to keep going with it.
Hmm.
So, but they still have their iPhone forever.
Sure, they can keep it.
But, and then our final one, Verizon has apparently bought Yahoo for $4.83 billion, and that's billion with a B. So I guess what's sad is my cynical view was, my first question was, so does this mean more bloatware coming to Verizon handsets?
I mean, that's what I thought. You remember when they were putting all the crap on one of the Galaxy phones, and you couldn't uninstall it or anything? I mean, it was Yahoo, wasn't it? They were putting on there.
No, one of the things they were putting on there was the Bing stuff.
Oh, Bing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That same difference.
Yeah. Well, cause it was, yeah. I mean, but supposedly they did this because they wanted the Yahoo's mobile video market and everything of that sort. But yay, Verizon. But I can already see to justify the cost of buying this, they're going to start forcing that stuff down people's throats. And part of it's because they wanted access to some of the revenue that Yahoo gets from their ads and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I don't see this being a good purchase, but whatever.
Not your problem anymore, right?
No.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of all we got out there for now. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, I guess for some of the people that do fantasy sports, Yahoo is still one of the better ones for baseball. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But so kind of moving into our picks, what do you have for us, Todd?
Oh, hang on here. I'm trying to catch this Zubat. Hang on. No, I had typed out Pokemon Go, but that's not it. My pick this week is I've been looking for a new small laptop, something kind of portable to carry around with me. And I had actually thought about going with another MacBook Pro, but they're still on, 2-year-old hardware, and it's hard to tell. They'll probably update this fall, but I didn't really want to wait around, so I went with this. It's the Dell XPS 13. I managed to get a good deal on it at Costco. It's got the infinity display, real thin bezels in the top and the sides, 512 gig SSD and 16 gig of RAM. Just it's solidly built, metal construction, and like I said, the screen is awesome. Very portable. It's real compact. New hardware. It's even got a USB-C port that runs Thunderbolt 3. So if I wanted to get one of those Alienware external GPUs or whatever, I could do that.
Nice.
Yeah. My pick.
So what about you, Bill?
Well, my pick this week is kind of an oldie but a goodie. I was going through my phone trying to see if I had any cool new apps, and I remembered that Authy, which is a two-factor authentication app, has probably been one of my favorite apps that I use on a consistent basis. It allows you to add in different services for two-factor authentication. So when you sign in, you also have to use this program to generate a key, which you then plug into the website or the app. Then that verifies that that's actually you and not someone who stole your password. The cool thing with Authy is they have a Chrome extension. They allow you to install it on multiple devices, which is something that Google Authenticator does not. And it's all cloud synced. So you can switch devices at will and not have to worry about, because back in the day I remember getting locked out of my account because I was wiping the device that had Google Authenticator on it. And so I didn't have a way to generate the code.
Oops.
Nor get the text message. So now this solves it because I've got several different methods of getting a two-factor authentication, and I actually think I'm going to switch my kids over and make them start using it too.
I mean, it's a good idea, especially with the hacks and stuff becoming more common. And let's face it, even I know you still use LastPass, right?
Yep.
So I mean, you're not as prone to some people because I mean, let's face it, most people have, especially now where you're using Google to log into almost everything nowadays. All it takes is one hack. Well, at least with the two-step authentication, they still have to have that other part that they're not going to have.
Yeah, and every device or every website has a different super long password that I don't know, and I've actually made my kids use LastPass. I've bought them premium accounts there too, so it makes it easier to share passwords and stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. And it's good practice to get them in, which is something that it was a pain to switch over when I did several years ago, but once I got through that pain, it's a minor inconvenience to have to copy and paste passwords every time instead of knowing them. But every time that there's a hack or a breach, which happens pretty frequently, I don't really care. I just go in and switch that one password. And they've made a lot of strides in being able to automatically change those for you. So you can go into the app and tell it to change the passwords, and it'll go out and do it for you. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I've been thinking about going back to it. I'd kind of had that growing pain of switching over to getting things moved over, but as things get more and more getting hacked, you're like, you really need to do it. Yeah,
and they have a security check that's built in, so it'll go through all your different sites that you have and the passwords and stuff, and let you know what your score is. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the only stuff that's in my LastPass that isn't super, super great is the stuff that is like my mom's password from, her AOL account or something that I need to keep. And she wants to remember. She doesn't want to use a password manager, and I'm not going to force her. So yeah, it's super handy to have an app like Authy in conjunction with LastPass. And if you're not using something like that, you really, really should. I mean, it's like $1 a month for LastPass, and then Authy, I think it may cost something, but it's a super nice service.
Cool. So my pick, it's one kind of playing around with. I know, Todd, you've got a few of these, the Raspberry Pi 3, but I've finally got RetroPie up and running, and I had a couple of old PS3 controllers laying around, got it working over Bluetooth, and it works perfectly. I mean, kind of what sparked me to kind of do this was with that Nintendo announcement about the Classic Mini that they announced that they're putting out in November. And then I was like, oh, that would be awesome to have. Then it kind of dawned on me, but with RetroPie, I could have it plus everything else for a lot cheaper. Yeah. Although, I mean, I probably will, let's face it, I probably still will buy one of those Nintendo ones. Although my thoughts weren't just so much for using it to play it, but because it would make a hell of a Raspberry Pi case that's an authentic Nintendo case.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And some of the early pics on it look like it's almost like it was based off of Raspberry Pi.
Nice.
With the onboard HDMI
probably
and everything.
Close.
It probably is. In fact, it may actually be one.
Could be.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've got it set up. I had 128 gig micro SD laying around that I wasn't really using, so I dropped it in there, set it up, and it works perfectly. I even broke out because what's cool with RetroPie, it comes with some games already, and including old school Zork.
Oh, I love that game.
And so I was kind of messing around with Zork the other day.
Sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, and the Raspberry Pi 3, it's a good little machine for 35
Yeah,
bucks or so.
I've already thought about it because my brother-in-law is pretty handy with both metal and wood, like carpentry and stuff like that, and welding. Maybe eventually design my own arcade cabinet and throw this in there, because then you don't have to worry about the ventilation and stuff like that. And it works well with like the tank stick and stuff. So basically have awesome arcade or a bar top with very little put into it.
Sweet.
So with that, let's let everybody know how they can reach us. How about you, Todd?
Best way to reach me is Todd W on Twitter.
And you, Bill?
At Bill Stebbins on Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter at LSULaw2009. So in closing, you can find us by simply searching for AndroidXperience or Tech Side in your podcast client of choice, or you can subscribe to the show in iTunes or Google Play. Please take the time to leave us a review and comments. Alternatively, we have another link for our non-iTunes and non-Google Play listeners, which you can find here in our show notes. We also have a Patreon page. This gives our dedicated and loyal listeners an opportunity to support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you'd like to support us and the rest of the shows on the network, visit our support page at patreon.com/techside. Leave a comment on Twitter at AXPpodcast, or email the podcast at axp@techside.net. Check out our website at techside.net/AXP, and also be sure to check out all of our other great podcasts, blogs, photo galleries, and the TechSide store on techside.net. So we thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Adios.
All right.